A good Erev Shabbos. Today's daf is Lamed Aleph. We're up to Lamed Amid Beis, about 5, 6 lines up. Rav Yehuda, new sugya. Eidis hamacheshes zu. You have Eidim, it's about saying Dine Mamanis, and they are going ahead and they mock at each other. So in other words, you brought one in, you checked them out, he said something. You brought the second one in, you checked them out, and he said something. Okay, and they were conflicting. And whatever they said was conflicting. They were conflicting. So there were edis that machesha zuazu. The bedikos. Now there's bedikas and chakiris. So bedikas is the things that can't lead to hazama. The thing that they can't lead to hazama. So in the bedikas itself, what could lead to hazama is what time, what date, what time, what place. Then you could lead to hazama because you could say you were at this day, at this time, in this place. But saying something about the object itself, right? Then that can't lead to hazama. That's what we're speaking about. We're speaking about the bedikos. So the machitshad in the bedikos, kisheir b'dinei mamanis. When it comes to dinei mamanis, it's kasha. Now let's be medayik, guys. Mashma, but in dinei nefashos, it would be not good. You won't be a good aid. In other words, if you conflicted with each other when it came to dinei nefashos, it would be a problem. But right now, dinei mamanis is okay. Amar Rava. Rava now is coming to explain Rav Yehuda. Amar Rava. Rava is going to explain Rav Yehuda. Mistabra milsa de Rav Yehuda. Be'echad oimer ba'arnaki shechayra. The loan took place. He gave him money. It was in a black wallet. Ve'echad oimer ba'arnaki levana. And the other one says it was a white wallet. In other words, the main thing when you testify, the main thing is the money. There was $100. The ancillary is the color of the wallet. So in other words, Rava wants a taina. When does Rabbi Yehuda say bedikos are not a problem if they weaken each other? If it's in the secondary part, like this case, the wallet, not the ikar part, the money. Aval echad oimer mana shachar. Let's say he gave him a mana and it was a black coin it's a coin that got black. The echad oimer mana lavan, but it was white. In other words, now you're going ahead and testifying in the ikar money. Then a mitzdarfin. They would not go ahead and be mitzdarf. So Rava in Rav Yehuda, in this shita that by dinei mominis, that bedika is their kosher, if they machich each other, is provided it's what? In the secondary part, not the ikka part. But if it's in the ikka part, right, then it's not going to be what good is. Be machich each other. However, bedinei nefashos, even in the secondary part would be a problem, right? In dinei nefashos, guys, that's the diak. In dinei, because Rabbi Yehuda only said it's dinei mamanis, but in dinei nefashos, even in the secondary part, it would be a problem. That's important because that's what we're going to question. We're going to question that in the Kuda. Says the Gemara, ba'anaki shechura, meaning the secondary part, dinei nefashos loy, right, should not be kosher. Lo means loy, it's low that it shouldn't be kosher. Ivam Rav Chisda. Again, be aware of Chisda and Rav Yehuda, both Amoraim. Vam Rav Chisda, Echad Aimer b'Sayev Hargo. One guy said he murdered him with a sword. The Echad Aimer be'ararin. And one says he went ahead and he hit him with some type of knife or a sickle, something that could kill him that's not a sword. Ein ze nachain. Then ein ze nachain. Look at the bottom Rashi, guys. Ein ze nachain. Ein edus u'mechuvenes. Then the edus is not mechuvin, meaning we're not going to accept it. But nachain is lashon mechuvenes. The lishna dekra nakat. And the lashon the Gemara is using is the lashon of the pasuk. V'hine emes nachain hadavar. So the emes nachain hadavar, the thing is correct. So therefore we're saying, so if the object that you killed him with, that's ein ze nachain. Echaram at Caleb Shchayrim, the murderer was wearing black. The Echaram at Caleb Levanim was wearing white. Hari said, Nachain, it's good, Edis. So you see, Rav Chisda says, even in the secondary part, guys, the clothing you wear is similar to the wallet, the color, right? It's not the main thing. It's not, but the money or the murder weapon, those are the main things. But the ancillary, the secondary things, so you see, Rav Chisda says, it's not true. You, Rav Yehuda, say that in the secondary things by Dinei, the Fashais, they would be ruin the Edis. You see, it's not true because if the murderer wore black or red or white, whatever they're wearing, it would still be good Edis. Fred the Gemara, Gava Karamas. Who are you asking on? You're asking from Rav Chisda to Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda's not going to lose sleep. Rav Yehuda's an Amari. He can say what he wants. You, Rav Chisda, you're not bringing a sauce, a Tanoic sauce. You're not bringing a Tanoic sauce. Therefore, what? The kasha is the kasha. That's your opinion. So you're machlokes in Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Chisda. If the secondary source would go ahead and by edus mecheshes, whether it would go ahead and ruin the edus. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it would ruin the edus by dinei nefashos, and according to Rav Chisda, even by dinei nefashos would not. So like Rav Chisda, there's no difference between dinei nefashos and dinei mominus. The secondary part would be acceptable if they match each other. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a distinction between dinei mominus where they would be still good edus and dinei nefashos where the secondary would not be good edus. Now, even if one of them says black money, love on white money, mitzdarfin, they will be mitzdarif. They would go ahead and combine. Keman, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, who said that what? Any place that they made, as long as they're chayiv on the mana. Guys, remember, I'll remind you, yesterday's share. What was the Rabbi Yehuda Shua ben Karch was the opinion you could say Eidos on 2 separate days. Tanakama said you couldn't because what this mana the person's testifying on is not the same mana that this person's testifying on. And Rabbi Shua ben Karch says the bottom line, it's a mana. So the same thing over here, whether it's black or it's white, what is it? It's a mana. So we want to say, Nardoi wants to say, even that would not be edus mucheshes, it would be acceptable in the sheet of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Why? Because basically, whatever the color is, the bottom line, it's a mana, right? So therefore, that should be acceptable. So this would be the biggest leniency, because in the Rav Chisda and Rav Yehuda both said on the Ikka, mucheshes, the edus is gone. Yeah, this is the biggest one. They're going to say over here the edus what would be. We're saying over here the edus would be still good, despite the fact that you're saying what in the same mana. Says the Gemara. 1 second. That's when they don't weaken each other. But mi amar. So in other words, the nardoik Yeshua ben Karcha would. When does Yeshua ben Karcha say? That's when each one is testifying on a mana. But when they go ahead and refute each other, they're not. Nasim or Lamed Aleph Amid Beis about 6-7 lines down. Lamed Aleph Amid Aleph about 6-7 lines down. Elohud Amar Ki Haitana. Nardoi says like this Tana. Okay, so let's just Chazar Riba, guys. Let's Chazar Riba. Right. By Dinei Nefashos, if the Eidim, they're going ahead and they're conflicting in a secondary thing, right? Meaning the red. One says it was a red wallet, one says it was a white wallet. Okay, then Dinei Mominus, everyone says it would be okay. Dinei Nefashos, now we have a machlokes. Rabbi Chisda says it still will be good edus. The murderer wore white, the murderer wore black. They're conflicting. Rabbi Yehuda says it would not be good edus. Comes along, but in the ikka, but in the money itself, in the weapon itself, everyone would agree that they match each other. Comes along Nardoi and says a bigger chiddush. Dinei Mominus, they're going ahead. One guy says it was a black. It was a very, let's say, I'll give it. It was a very brand new bill. The other one says it was like a crumpet the bill, right? So they're conflicting each other. Nardoi says it's still good edus, even though the edus was gufa in the money itself rather than the ancillary secondary stuff. We want to know where does Nardoi know that from, and that's what we're up to right now. Nardoi says that even in the Iker, it's not machish each other, is what in the Tanya. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, like nechelku beis Shammai ubeis Hillel, al shtei kitei edim. She'achas leimeris, you have 2 kitei edim, you have 4 people, 2 kind of edim. She'achas leimeris masayim, one says he owed him 200. V'achas leimeris mana, one says 100. She'esh b'chal masayim mana. They go ahead what and say for sure, al ma nechelku. Al kad achas. So if it's one group, so you have 2 different people now. One group, 2 people. So one says 100, one says 200 guys. One guy says Ruvain owed him 100, and the same aide says no, it was 200, right? They're divided. In other words, they match each other, they're out. You have yesh b'chal Messiah mana. The bottom line is they are both saying 100 because 100 is b'chal 200. So here you have two Eidim, they're makich each other in the etzem zach itself, and nonetheless, like Rav Shimon ben Elazar in the Shita Beis Hillel, that would be the Shita of Nardoi. That if one says it was a black bill and one says it was a white bill, right, they would be believed. This is similar to over here, 200, 100. So the Shita of Nardoi would be Shimon ben Elazar in the Shita of Beis Hillel. Echad oimer chavya shel yayin, ve'echad oimer chavya shel shemen. He owes him a barrel. One says it was a barrel of wine. One says a barrel of oil. A barrel of oil was more expensive than a barrel of wine. He came in front of Ravami, and Chayve Ravami l'shlume lechavita de chamra. Migu de chavita de mashcha. He went ahead. He said, "Okay, you know what? You say wine, you say oil. Pay at least wine." So in other words, a barrel of let's say oil is $200. A wine is $100. Give him give him a barrel of wine. Kibashim ben Elazar. Fred the Gemara. Even though Kibashim ben Elazar, hechad the yesh b'chal masayimana ki haygavnemi amar. Guys, if you're speaking about money, 200 and 100, 100 is b'chal 200. But you don't have a barrel of wine inside a barrel of oil. They're two separate things. So why are you assuming that if Shimon ben Elazar would, in that case, agree that we accept the Eidos? I mean, they're not the same thing. So the Gemara says, you're right. We're talking about the value. In other words, don't pay a barrel of wine, pay the value of a barrel of wine. Okay, you're paying the barrel of wine, so that's the same case, right? Guys, you say a barrel of wine, you say a barrel of oil. Either way, you know that a barrel of oil, I'm just giving you the example which makes sense. If a barrel of oil costs 200 and a barrel of wine costs 100, Zichar, the guy is entitled to 100. Right? In other words, there's no shaila he gave him something. There's no shaila. What that something is questionable. Is it $200 worth of oil or $100 worth of wine? In that case, so give him don't give him wine because wine is not oil. Give him the value, which is 100. That the transaction took place, the avot took place on the upper balcony. The lower balcony. Rashi brings, remember from the Erevin days, guys, you had Rosh Hashanah and you had these overhangs, above, like they're hanging over Rosh Hashanah. Amar Rav Chanina, Ma'isa Balafnei Rebbe V'tzir Feidusan, and he says Mitzarv to two, since they witnessed it, where the guy was makbet to know which balcony it was, no difference. Now we said Umenayin l'chsheyetze, right? When you go out of Bezdin, right? When you go out, the Mishnah said the Dayan should say to him, I voted for you, but what can I do? My other guys went against me. You don't say that, right? It says, I was mizaka you, v'chaverai. I was mizaka you, v'chaverai mechayev, and it was mechaverim that mechayev you. What can I do? That they win a majority. How do you know? Say that Hamalaymer like Selech Rachel Ba'amcha Ba'amecha. Like Selech Rachel Ba'amecha, that you should not have a Rachel, a peddler, literally a peddler going Be'amecha, right? Be'amecha. But then the lashon what? That's the lashon of a person. But the lashon rechilis comes from that. A person goes, what does a peddler do? He goes from place to place to place. So this person what? He goes and says this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. It's not a very, very, very painful thing, rechilis. V'oimer, hoylech Rachel megalas side. Hahu talmida, the nafik le'a kala, they went out of koil, the goli milsa the idmar be midrasha betrayas and v'tartim shnin. There was something in the base medrash that they kept there for 22 years. It was a hidden secret. And this guy revealed it. Afik Rav Ami mi be midrasha, they threw him out. Amar, Dein Goli Raza, this person revealed a secret. Again, I think we always appreciate a friend who, if you tell something to, it's, right? There's certain people that you never, when you share something with, you never ever have to say, don't tell anybody else. Because you know that they're not going to. And then there's certain people you know if you tell them you're an idiot because it's definitely going to come out. In other words, no matter what you say, it's going to be out there. It's just as does that. You have to know. A person's got to know who. A person's got to know. A person's got to know. Like
I learned from Rabbi Baruch Hilsenrath way back. He said to treat everything you say or do, this was B'Torah says in Menahel, as though it's going to be on the New York Times front page tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're teaching a girls' school, it wouldn't even be tomorrow. It'll be the next minute. It's unbelievable. Okay, anyway. Nassen's sitting there with this smug look on his face. He says, Lays? Lays? Nassen's saying that. Ay, ay, ay. Get a Wi-Fi extender.
I have one right here.
Yeah, great. It's not doing anything.
Correct. So what's supposed to fill my Laban, okay?
You have to connect it.
It plug. What's Haksa cup? Continue. Stop it. I'm aggravated.
Did you plug it in?
No, I stuck it in my. It's plugged in.
A different meaning of extender.
Oh, you shaggins.
Anyway, says the Mishnah. Kol Zaman Shemevi Raya Soiser Esadin. Okay, we're gonna have three scenarios, guys. Kol Zaman Shemevi Raya Soiser Esadin. As long at the whole time that Bezdin is open for business, you can bring a raya. This is Rashi. Kol Zaman Shemevi Raya Habal Bezdin V'lehoya Shtar Zechusay B'Yadai. He doesn't have a shtar zechus in his hand. V'yetzim mi Bezdin chayiv. Ula'ach azman matzah shtar zechusay ve'viu. Soiser esadin. As long as, again, Bezdin gave him a time to bring a raya, go ahead, no problem. Because matcha may be raya, soiser esadin. As long as they didn't tell you it's over, you can bring a raya, connected what they said. Amalei kol raya sheyesh l'cha have mikan at shleishim yom. We're going to give you 30 days to bring. We said that you're chayiv to pay. Bring a raya that you're not. We give you 30 days. If you find it within 30 days, it overrides the din. After 30 days, what? It's not saiser the din. What's this guy never supposed to do? A day after, on the 31st day, he found a shtar keneged what the other guy said, or Adam showed up. What's he supposed to do? The halach is like this, fellas. This case where he gave him a time span, but they didn't say that any raya you have, he gave him a time span. The halach is like Rav Shimon Gamliel. The next case is the halach is not like Shimon Gamliel. This is raya achroina. Amaloi. Before the Gemara din, they tell him Havi Edim. Amar, and he says, Ainli Edim. Amar, the Dayanim say, Havi Raya, bring a Raya, Shtar, something. Amar Ainli Raya. So this is called Raya Achroina. Ula Achazman Havi Raya, or Umatza Edim, Harzein Klum. That's nothing. That's nothing. Where he gives him this man, and he doesn't say anything, then Einachinami, it's good. Where he says, I don't have Edim, I don't have a Raya, and then, oh, by the way, all of a sudden, then Lo Yamaklum, then we don't trust him. Big difference, right? First case, they didn't say, bring Edim, and he didn't say, I don't have, he said nothing. Second case where he said, I have nothing, and showing all of a sudden he had something, then we have to go ahead. Our antennas have to be up that something's not kosher in Denmark. I'm dating myself. Reb Shimon Gamliel, he didn't know that what? That he has Edim. How's he supposed to know? In other words, we'll trust him all of a sudden, yeah. Then, now, case scenario number 3. Ra shemischayev bidin. He saw that they're going to be mechayev him. For Omar, and he says, "Kirvu ploni v'yaduni." Come on, testify for me. Or from unterin tish, he goes ahead. He brings out what? He brings out shoin. He brings it's really his belt, but it fits him better. He goes in and he brings out what? A raya. How you say in a klum? That everyone's maida. Because the only reason he's doing this is why? Because he sees that it's over for him. Okay, so the first scenario, they said bring a raya, he said nothing. The second scenario, he said bring a raya, bring edim, I have no edim, I have no raya. Amar Rabbi Huna. Halach Reb Shimon Gamliel, the halach is like Reb Shimon Gamliel in scenario number one, where they said bring a raya and didn't say anything. For Amar Rabbi Huna, ain't halach kedivei chachamim. The halach is not like the chachamim. So pshita, even though halach Reb Shimon Gamliel, memeli you down the halach chachamim. Once you told me the halach is like Reb Shimon Gamliel, you know the halach is not the chachamim. So now the tema hani milu lechatchila, the halach is like Reb Shimon, like not like the chachamim. Avod the evet shabadami. Once it's done, it's done. Right? That he doesn't show up with that. In other words, I saw the Baal Ma'or says once he paid. Let's say he paid, right? So you might think, wow, he acted upon the chachamim. And he didn't say I don't have any edim, so he pays up, and then Shiny brings edim. So you would thought bidi evet, since he acted upon the words of the chachamim, it's a done deal. Kemash malan, ein halachat kechachamim, and you get your money back. You hear? Because the halacha is like a shimon gamliel, and you could bring a raya. The halacha is like a shimon gamliel, but you had to say ein halachat kechachamim that I feel it bidi evet. If you acted upon the chachamim sak, it's not a done deal. Kamash malan the avi madrin alei. That if you do it, Madrina, you're going to go back because the halach is not like them. The halach is Shimon Gamliel. That's in the first scenario. Now, what was the second scenario? They say bring edim. He says I have no edim. Say bring a raya. He goes I have no raya. And then shpunkt he gets said to Shimon Gamliel. In that case, you know what? What's he supposed to do? Says the Chachamim, it's too late. Says the Chachamim, he didn't know. He didn't know he didn't have. He thought he didn't have. But Shoyin, he found out differently. So Amar loy havi edim. Amar Shimon Gamliel. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Yochanan, halacha k'derei chachamim. The halacha is like the chachamim. For Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Yochanan, ein halacha Rav Shimon Gamliel. The same dialogue. The halacha is not like Shimon Gamliel. Pshita, kivin Amar halacha k'derei chachamim. Memeli yadana the ein halacha Rav Shimon Gamliel. Once we know that, we know the halacha is not Rav Shimon Gamliel. So hakamash one. Here's the chiddush. Debahi ein halacha Rav Shimon Gamliel. In this case, meaning this is the only case in Shas in the Mishnah that the halach is not like of Shimon Gamliel. This is the only case in Shas, listen to my words, in the Mishnah, that the halach is not like of Shimon Gamliel. Ha bikula, but all the rest of Shas in the Mishnayos, halach of Shimon Gamliel. That's why you had to said, ein halach of Shimon Gamliel, to stress. The halach is not of Shimon Gamliel in this scenario, but any other scenario, it is. Lafuke mehod amar Rav Chana amar Rav Yochanan. Lafuke that opinion. Kol makom sheshana Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Mashina Allah Chamaisai. Anytime we learn Rabbi Shimon Gamliel in the Mishnah, Allah is like him, except three places. Chutz may arev that we had in Masechta Bava Basra, the case by an arev. With Sidoin, and we had this Masechta Gittin in a place called Sidoin. V'rayach Reina, that's our Mishnah over here. So our Mishnah is saying that Lafuke that opinion only Rayach Reina. According to Rabbi Yochanan, in the words of Rabbi Rachana, that there's two other places the halach in the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel by Orev and Sidon. Very good, very good shmak. Ahu Yenuka, there was this child. The Tavuhu Ledina Kamei Rav Nachman. So there's a struggle in Rishonim how you could take a child to court. In other words, to pay off, usually you have to wait till they get older. So there's a Ran. The Ran says that since the child is not really a child, but he's childlike when it comes to knowing the business dealings of his father. You know the Tavi Ladino, Kamei the Rav Nachman. He brought him the case in front of Nachman. Amalai Istacha Sadi. So he asked this child, do you have any witnesses? Amalai Loi. They asked him, Istacha Raya, do you have a Raya? Amalei Loi. So Chayave, Rav Nachman was Chayavim. Habi Kabachi v'Azal. I guess it must have been a child because he was walking out, he was crying. And Shamu Hanach, and people saw this child crying. Amulei Anoyadina b'mili davucha. We know what the story with your father is. We know that he doesn't owe the money. You know, as we can help you out. So now, do you take this guy back, guys? What was the second scenario? If someone says, "I don't have edim," or I don't have a raya, finito. We don't, right? That's it. Because the halacha is not like Rishim and Galil, but raya achreina. So this is the case of raya achreina. He said to the kid, you have Eidim? No. Raya? No. So what should the din be? Farting and Asik, right? It should be done. Done deal. What does it say? No. We know the story. So I'm Rav Nachman. I feel Rabbanan Moida the Yanuka. Rabbanan be Moida that you could bring back Eidim or Raya. The Yanuka b'mili davu Allah yada. He's not expected to know. The Mela very geschmack. In this case, the Chacham be Moida you could bring back, because in other words, in the case of the Mishnah, where is an adult with his own business dealings, own business. When he says I don't have Eidim, he doesn't have Eidim. When this comes to Geld, the person watches himself. I just made that up, right? You're going to go ahead and watch yourself very clearly, right? So if you say you have no Eidim, what's the din? You don't have Eidim. Shtar, you don't have a shtar. All of a sudden you chayiv and it shows up. No, we don't believe you. But where a child is, Taka don't know, right? You're telling you about your father, you don't know. How are you supposed to know this? Okay, then even the Chamuli Maida, if someone shows up, if a Raya or Eidim show up, you would go ahead and accept it in court.
It's a Kim zu Geld zu andere Welt.
Yeah, we know that. We learned that from Yuri. That's the only thing Yuri left us with. That and going for a Rambam and not coming back for 3 months. Anyway, Hayi Issasa, there was this woman, the Nafik Shtarimi Tute Yada. She had a star in her hands. It came out from her hands. Now, Rashi says the star belonged to a loiva and a malva. So she is what's called a shlish. She's the third party. So they gave it over to her to hold. Now we had the sugya in Baba Basra by the Indian of Mili. If you give over, if a star can be nikdas b'mesira, right? You go ahead and in other words, when you give over a star, what do you kind of? You kind of the words of the star. If you hold that the oisius nikdas b'mesira, then you're not just getting the piece of paper. You're getting the words on the piece of paper. So now, when they give this over to her, for all intents and purposes, she's the baldover. So now, with that in mind, Hayisasa, there was this woman, the Nafik Shtar mi tuto yada, Amrlei, Yadana b'Hishtar the Priya have. I know it was paid up. So Himna Rav Nachman believed her. Amrlei Rav Nachman, Kiman, who do you hold like Rebbe? The Amar Oisias Niktis Masira, but we don't hold like Rebbe. That's the problem. In other words, we don't hold like Rebbe. So Amalei, so Rav Nachman told Rava, shiny hach, it's different here. The boy kalse. Again, what are you saying over here? That the star is paid up, that the star is worthless, right? In other words, you can't collect with the star. Believe her that the star is paid up. Migu, she could have burnt the star, and everything would have been gone anyway, right? Once you burn the star, there's no hischayvus whatsoever. Good. So that's the first lashon. So says Rav Nachman to Rava. Says Rav Nachman to Rava again, showing again in Masechta Sanhedrin, as we saw clearly in Baba Basra. Rav Nachman is the man when it comes to Dinei Mamonis. When it comes to Dinei Mamonis, Rav Nachman really is the man. He's ständig throughout. And when you have a kashan of Nachman, it's very, very powerful. It's a good thing to know, a good idea to know in the expertise of the Amoraim. Shmuel was a doctor. We have the Klali Hashas, Halacha Karab B'Issa, Shmuel B'Mamin. Rav Nachman was really, really an expert in Mamin. So he says over here, Ikad the Ami. Others say this dialogue. They didn't believe her. Rav Nachman did not believe her. Amalei Rava Rav Nachman for her Amid Beis. Boy kalse, if she wanted, she could have burnt it. In other words, it's the opposite now. In the first lashon, Rav Nachman believed her. In the second lashon, Rav Nachman is not believing her. And Rav is saying, why don't you believe her? She has a migu. Believe her that while it's paid up, migu, she could have burnt it. Says Rav Nachman, kivin des chazek b'beidina. It has, Rashi says it had a henpick written on top of it. Boy kalse lo yaminan. So let's see Rashi in the Tosfos. Says Rashi, this chazek b'beidina. Shekasav by Henpik. Bezdin had gone ahead and they wrote a Henpik, meaning they wrote a star authorizing, the authenticating the Eidim. Le'alimi ihi lafkui ma'isa bezdin. She does not have the power to go ahead and be. So there's a star. Doesn't say it was paid up. Bezdin authenticated the star, so therefore it's a viable star. She, with Hamigu, does not have a power connected to the star, since Bezdin authenticated it. Says Taisvis, Pirish Bekuntris, top Taisvis, Shekasa by Hempik, Bekasha, the Mikol Makom, the Hem, the Bemigo, the boy Kalse. So big spitz, fellas. You have a star that has a Hempik or doesn't have a Hempik. Believe it was paid up, Migu, she could have burnt it. Again, good, the star was once upon a time, Mamish, Kasha, Viyasha, Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin, Bedatz, Beis Yosef, Als. It had the handpick from a bed. Great. I'm saying this Kasha, Viyasha star was paid up. I'm not questioning the authenticity of the star. I'm saying once upon a time, I'm saying it's a viable star that was paid up. Believe me, it was paid up. Migu, I could have burnt it. Says Taisus, according to Rashi's parish, how does it far end for Rav Nachman? He doesn't believe her. V'yesh leimar, this chazik veidina, what is mischazik veidina? Shira'u biyada. They saw her having it. You know what it means? They saw it. Ki ahi de shalim mishames. Shehuchzik ksav yadei bevezdin. Guys, eye contact. What's Hamigu over here? Believe me, it was paid up. Migu, I could have destroyed it, and no one would have known better. If Bezdin saw it by her, she doesn't have Migu anymore. But believe me that it was paid up. Migu, I could have burnt it. You wouldn't know anything about it. We know about it. We know about it. We saw you having it. That's Pshat Machzik with Bezdin, says Taisvis. That taka takes away Hamigu. That's what Nachman's taina to Rava. You, Rava taina, she has a migu. Why she should be believed that she could have burnt it? Says Taisvis, she couldn't have burnt it. You know why? Because of Mischazik Bezdin. Because they saw her. Once they saw her having it, she can't burn it. It wouldn't help. There's no migu. Geschmack. You have to understand what Rashi meant. Like Rashi speaking of the it's very shver. The problem with Rashi and Taisvis always gets in the last word. It's therefore, it always gets in the last word. And that's the lumdus is to explain why Rashi wasn't bothered by Taisvis. What thing you like about Taisvis is Mahalach. Esei Rav Nachman. Rabbi asked the kasha to Rav Nachman. Simpoin. A simpoin over here, guys, is a shoiver. It's a receipt, right? And the loiva, it comes from the loiva. Who would have a receipt? The malva, the loiva. The loiva would have a receipt. The loiva would have the receipt. So you have the loiva has this receipt, and what? Sheyesh lav edim. Yiskayim b'chaysamav. You go ahead and you authenticate it. Yiskay Rashi. Yiskayim ashtar b'chaysamav. You idu edim al chasimus yedayim v'kasher. Ein lav edim. Right? You have ein edim v'yotza mitachas yedei shlish, and it's coming out from a third party. That's similar to our case, where this woman was a third party. Or it comes out after the shtar, Rashi, in the shtar itself. In other words, guys, when you have the bill and your guy signs paid in full on the bill, so that's what it is over here, right? You have milva, and you have chisum on the bill itself, you write the shtar. Right? If not that it was paid up, there's no way he's going to allow the person to write paid in full on the thing. So if the shlish is holding on to it, or it was paid written up on the shtar, kosher, it's kosher. Alma shlish mehimnin. So you see that what the shlish is believed, and Rav Nachman said what they're not. To Yufted Rav Nachman. So this just amplifies what I said before. Rav Nachman was the Murray the Schmeitzer of Dini Mominis, and this is a unique place, guys, where to Yufted Rav Nachman, Yishlaga Rav Nachman, the fact the shlish is believed. Kiyasar of Dimion Rav Yechanan, Loila Mevi Raya. This is a very ambiguous Gemara. Okay? To say for something very cryptic, I'm going to have to figure out what it means. Okay, so Rav Dimi comes up from Eretz Yisrael. He came from Babel to Eretz Yisrael, and he said the name. It came to Babel, Again, Rav Dimi was from Bavel. He's Rav. He didn't get smicha. He went to learn Rav Dimi and Rav Oven, and they're always reporting back from Eretz Yisrael, from the great Rav Yochanan, to what he said in Bavel. Now, he said in Rav Yochanan, La'olam mevi roya v'saiser. A person can bring a raya and overturn the din. Ad sheyistatem tainosav. Until their tainas are susam. Until there's no right. Until they say no more rayas. So until they say no more rayas, you can bring a raya. V'yoymar kirvu ploini uploini ve'iduni. Hagufa kasha. Armit, you said yistatem tainosav. The Eino Nemon, you're not believed. Asal Rabbanon, who said once they said there's no more rayas, it's finished. The Chazav Amarta at the end you said Kirvu ish ploini uploini veiduni. Mashma only after he said I don't have edim, and now he's going to bring it. Guys, going back to the scenarios of the Mishnah, right? Once the Chachamim said if you have a raya, bring it, and you don't have it, it's over, right? It doesn't bring it. And then it says at the end, you know when it's over? When they see the din is about to be kapaskin, and then all of a sudden, shine, he brings Eidim. So the beginning is like Rabbanon, and the end is like Rav Nachman, like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So again, he says, you start in Tainoisav, Asna Rabbanon, Vahada Amrit, Kirvu Ishplaini, Plaini, Veidunu, Asna Rav Shimon Gamliel. The Chitema Kul Rav Shimon Gamliel, they say the whole thing is Rav Shimon Gamliel. Right. Meaning, when is the din finished? When it's too late to bring, and this guy brings the last scenario that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is Moida, right? When he sees that they've been mechayiv him, and all of a sudden, I still, Unter in Tish, he brings out something. So maybe that's, you're touching up what Stimus Hadin is. At that point in time, my actually starting tainoisav, achayoyma kirvu ploni veduni. That would be the explanation, guys. Right? What does it mean that their tainas are sasam? Up to the point where what? Where they're going to mechayev him and showing he's going to bring up people. So that would be the explanation. You wouldn't have a stira between the beginning being the Rabbanon and the latter part being Rav Shimon Gamliel. Veha Oma Rabba bar Rav Chana Om Rabbi Yochanan. So obviously, again, if you're going to tell me Prushik Mafarish, then what? Then you're going to agree with Rabbi Gamliel, and it's not true. Okay, let's explain. He can go ahead and bring a raya until they say it's over. V'yomrula hava edim v'oime ainli edim hava raya v'oime ainli raya. Guys, that's it. Guys, eye contact. That's stimus hadin. Bring your raya. I don't have a raya. Bring your edim. I don't have edim. No, after that, nothing. Zero, nada. Now you just said at the end. Oh, 1 second. There's after time after this. Oh, by the way, let me bring edim. Right, that's the last scenario. Aval. Bo Edim in Medina's Hayam, if Edim come from overseas, or showing a packet of shtarai show up from the father, and in that packet there is a shtar that says a raya that you were victorious. Harizah may be raya v'saiser. Then you could bring a raya and saiser. That's what it's telling me over there. So when stimus hadin, guys. Stimus Hadin is when they say bring Eidim, no Eidim. Raya, I have no Raya. But the Moida, the Chachamim, in that scenario, if the Eidim show up from Medina Sayyam, which you would know about, ain't Eidim, right? Guys, this is like the case of the Yanuka. The Yanuka is not supposed to know about the father's business. You had no way of knowing there are Eidim overseas. You had no way of knowing that in the attic, your father kept a file, and in that file was shtaros, and one of them was that the guy who's making a claim from you is not telling the truth because you have a star saying the opposite. Right? You're not supposed to know that. Then we would accept it even after Stimus Hadin. Kiyos Rav Dimi Rabbi Yochanan hatoikev eschaver bedin Now, what does toikif mean? Rashi says this guy's a powerful guy. He's a strong guy. So he brings you to court, you know. Echadai menidin kan, ve'echadai nelech l'makam havad. So this guy's a really strong arm you to go to Bezdin A, and you say, you know what, I want to go to Tveria. I want to go to Devad. I want to go to a better Bezdin. So you force the strong guy to go to the Makam Devad. I'm on the phone Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi. Someone lends his friend $100. Should he spend $100 traveling to the place? In other words, if you're a milva and you want to go ahead and go to the local Bezdin, and the loiva wants to travel, you know, that's going to cost you money. 1 second. I lent you money, and now I have to spend money to get back my money? That doesn't make sense. Why, if you're the malva, why would you have to pay to go ahead and fulfill the desire of the loiva to go to a certain place? You shouldn't pay more. We had this earlier in Bava Basra. Ella koifnei, you force the loiva v'dan be'iroi, and you go ahead and judge in the city of the malva. Itmenami Rav Safra, Shnayim shenis atzmu bedin, they're fighting with each other. Echadai menodin kan ve'echadai menelech l'makam vad, koifnei v'dan be'iroi. However, v'im hutzrich dava lishol, and let's say you're not happy with that bezdin, that's why you wanted to go to the makam avad, then koisim v'sholchin, you write it up and send to the makam avad. In other words, we're not going to take the court case there. We're not going to make the malva have an expenditure there. But if you, the loiva, do not like what you heard and you write up the psak and send it to them, that you could do. If guy wants to, in writing what exactly you said, give it to him. However, let's say for chalitza, and the yavam lives in a distant place, and the Yavama wants to go ahead and do it in her place, she has to travel to his place. Ad kama, Ravami, afil mitfer litzipuri, whatever that distance is. Rav Kahana, Mikra, it says v'koroloi zikne iroi, right? In the parsha that me'ayin Yavami doesn't want to give him Yavamis, beis chalat sanal, they call him beis. What does it say? The koroloi. What's the key word? Zikne iroi, guys. His city, Iroi, v'lei zikne Ira, and not her city. Amar Meima hilchas lekoifin Isai v'yelech l'makam avad. The halacha is what you can force him to go to the makam avad. Amar Ravashi lameima v'amar Abalaza koifin Isai v'don be'Iroi. Says, I'll explain to you what Abalaza meant. Hani mili hechet dekamale loiva l'malva. When the loiva says to the malva, let's go to a faraway city, then the malva can force him to stay put. Aval malva, who wants to go to a faraway city, Eved loivel ish malva. You owe me. I want to go to the makam avad. You have to travel. Why? Because you're an eved to me. Eved loiva ish malva. So this din of traveling is only when the loiva wants to travel to a faraway city. Then not. When the malva wants to travel to a faraway to the base fad, then yes. Okay. The next piece of Gemara I find so fascinating, guys. Listen to this lashon. This is total digression. You can pella ployim. Sholchu leile mar ukva. They sent to Mar Ukva the following message. They sent to Mar Ukva the following message. This is what they sent to Mar Ukva. L'deziv le kibar bisya. To the one, l'deziv, who shines, kibar bisya, like the son of Bisya, shalom. That's what they said. Okay, before we do everything, let's get to the bottom of this title. Says Rashi, L'deziv le kibar bisya, kimaisha shehu ben bisya, lemisha makrin or panav, kimaisha Rabbeinu, to the one whose face shone like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was considered the son of Bisya, who was Bas Paro. Shegidaltoi Bisya Bas Paro. So the first lashon is they sent to Mar Ukva, to your face that shines like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was raised by Paro's daughter. Lashon Acher Kibar Bisya Ki Moshe Shehu Ben Bayis, like Moshe was Ben Bayis by Hashem. Dichsiv B'chol Beisi Neman Hu L'Deziv Le Al Shem Shahaya Chacham. And why is he called the Ziv? Based on who? The Ziv lay al shem shal yechacham ukasiv chachmas adam toyer panav. So we have two pshatim. One, they sent to Mar Ukva, to the one whose face shone like Moshe. And the other one to the one who had chachma and lived with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not Ben Bisya, Ben Bias, guys. Again, the shaila is, what's the word Bisya? So he said, Ben Bias. So it's not clear what exactly was the girsa. Was it Ben Bisya or was it Ben Bias? Yeah? So Ben Bisya was the daughter of Paro. Ben Bias, like he lives by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Either way, it's referring to Moshe, and he's referring to Moshe's, the shine of Moshe or the chachma of Moshe. Umatzasi b'seifa haggadah shahaya Mar Ukva bal tshuva. Mar Ukva was about tshuva. Shenasan einav be'isha achas. He went ahead and he found a woman that he was very attracted to. The Helo liboy Tina. Helo liboy Tina means his lave was filled with Tina, meaning he got sick over this. His desire for this woman was ad kadei kach, he was getting sick over it. V'nafal b'chayli, and he was bedridden. Ad kadei kach. Ve'eshes ish haya, and the Nebuch, for him, this woman was an eshes ish. So he had Mar Ukva, desired an eshes ish. Ad kadei kach, that he got sick. L'yamim nitzrucha l'vais mimenu, she needed money very badly. Umetoich doichka nisratzaloi. And mitoich dachka, she was willing to go ahead and give in to him. Hasteless, Mar Ukva was asking her about it, to be with her, because it says nisratzaloi. She was going to give in to him. The kavish yitzroi, Mar Ukva was kavish as Yetzirah, upachum l'shalom, and let her go in peace. V'nisrape, he got better. Ukshay yoytzel l'shuk hayiner doilik b'roisha min hashemayim. And when he went out in the street, mamish, there was a ner doilik min hashemayim. V'alshem kach korile Rav Nasan Tzutzisa. They called him Rav Nasan Tzutzisa, right? In Masech the Shabbos. Hachanami lahachi kasrulei hachi alshem ha'ar shayizarech alav. So they didn't call him Ukva Nasan Tzutzisa. So we find out such a concept of a person. So according to this, it was the shine of him was a result of not giving into a taiva. Not giving to a taiva. So you see you see people going ahead and struggling with this Gemara to, obviously they're speaking about Mar Ukva in a very, very positive way. The question is why? Is it the ziv from Moshe Rabbeinu? Is it the fact that he lived with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Chachma, or the fact that he didn't give him to his Yetzirah when he was sick about it? Three reasons. Here's a fourth. And it wasn't, and this I found Peladik, it's Pelaployim. I found this in the Magal Sayom, guys, okay? This is from Rav Ruvain Shapiro, Rav Ruvain Magoilis. Rav Ruvain Magoilis, the safe I use all the time, called Magoilis Sayom. Yitachein, it's possible, shetzarech loymar, l'dezivlei, not ki bar bisya, but ki rav masya. Guys, you can see that? Ki rav masya. Can you see ki bar bisya, right? In other words, he says Ruvain Magoilis, it's Yitachin to say that really the Gersa should be Kibar Masya. Umoisev al Rav Masya ben Chorish, and we're saying that Mar Ukva should be like Rav Masya. Shenis Maser, and he quotes a Medrash Tanchuma, on the Pasik, Benois Sadu alei Shur, it says by Yosef, that the girls, last week's Parsha, they climb on the walls. Shemi Oilon loinasa einav leisha. This Rav Masya never looked at a woman in his life. Upamachas niskana boyasotin. V'nid maloi keisha. The Satan went ahead and could shepet with them, and he went ahead and he appeared like what? Like an isha. Bichtei lahachtioi, in order to go ahead and make him do an aveira. At Rav Masya lokach mismarim, he took nails. V'heviram, he heated them up. V'noat soisam be'enav, and he blinded himself. Kivin shira Satan kach nival, he got confused. V'holach mimenu, and he left him. V'hayaziv panav mavik kiziv hashemesh, and his face was shining like what? Right. L'chein himlitzu al Mar Ukva shepirish me'aveira. Therefore, he used this Rav Masya on Mar Ukva, who also was perished from the same Aveira like Rav Masya. So the Magal Sayam is bringing in a Maisa with Rav Masya and Mar Ukva, based on the last Pshat and Rashi, they both went ahead separated from the same Avera, and therefore he said L'dezivle ki bar Masya, the one Mar Ukva whose face shone like Bar Masya, who shone for the same reason. Pelopline. That he went in. I got stuck on this one liner. I just thought it was gewaldig. You don't usually find, Sholach L'Marukva, but they send with such a title. I figured you had to give it we at least had to give it a time of day. Gorgeous pshat from Rav Reuven Margolis. Again, based upon the last pshat in Rashi, the dimya to Rav Masya, you could see Rav Bar Bisya and Bar Masya being the same thing, and therefore the shine for the same reason, being pirish from an Avera. Okay, so what do they do? Back to our regular scheduling program. Anyway, says what? So he says, Shalim Ukva Habavli Kibul Kadmana, a person named Ukva from Babylonia, right? He came and he complained in front of us. Yirmiyah Achi Hever Elayas Aderech. My brother Yirmiyah, he's Hever Elayas Aderech. Rashi says he was Mesarisim. Other people say that he screwed him in Dinei Mamonis. For Amrulai, and they told Yirmiyah, go ahead and pay off Ukvin. His Yu V'yira Panena B'Tveria, and he wanted to go ahead that we should go to Tveria. Hagufa Kasha. Armit, you said one hand, Amrulai, you said to Yirmiyah to go ahead and pay up Ukvin. Alma Deyoni Osin. So you see that what? Tell Marukva that you already went ahead and you paskin on this case. Hesiu V'yira Panenu B'Tveria. And then you say, go to Tveria. If you're paskin, why are you going to Tveria for? You're paskin already. Alma Shedrua Hacha. You see that what? They meant to tell Marukva to send Yirmiyah here. So either he's judged or he should be judged. Ella Hachikama. What exactly happened? What was the case? So Imile Doinoi Asan. Tell Yirmiyah to go ahead and pay off Ukvin, what he did to him. He's Tzayas, if he listens to you, Rabbi Yirmiyah listens to you, Tzayas. If he lie and he doesn't listen to you, his Siyuhu, go ahead and force him V'yira Panena B'Tveria. So that L'chatchila, you go ahead. But if you know he's not going to listen, again, guys, remember we said, if a guy's not going to listen, you're not going to judge the case. Was that Mar Ukva? Yeah, it was Mar Ukva. Guys, look back at Chof Ches Amid Beis. Guys, look, this geschmack is anything. Chof Ches Amid Beis. The bottom line. But the last words on the page. B'nei Chamua de Mar Ukva, the sons of the father of Mar Ukva, his brother-in-laws, Amid Aleph, Kroivim v'nisrachku. Their wives died, and no longer were they related. Haviyasla Kamei Dina, they came in front of him, and what happened at the end? He didn't want to paskin. They said, the Allah is not like Rabbi Yehuda, we're no longer Kroivim. So what did he say? Elamishum delayed Saisiu Dino. You're not going to listen to me. You're not going to listen to me. It's geschmack. This is the same thing. You're going over here in front of Mar Ukva, and you're saying, if you're going to listen to you, fine. If not, send him to Tveria. But again, you see the idea of, from the same person, Mar Ukva, about listening to a bezdin. I think that's very nice. Rav Ashi gives another pshat. Dine Knesses have. It was a Dine Knesses that had to be judged between Ukvin and Rav Yirmiyah. The reason why you had to send it to Tveria in Eretz Yisrael, because there was no smicha in Bavel, as we spoke about. In order to dine in Dine Knesses, you need to have smicha. First, Dine Mamonis B'Shleisha, right? We said, and then we said Chavolos. Chavolis was Bedina. Remember we spoke about the first sugya in the first sugya we had, right? It says Gzelis for Chavolis. You can only judge with mumchen. They have to be experts. They have to have smicha, because it's knas. So that Rav Ashi Amadini Knesses have Vavlei done the Knesses. V'adu Sholchalei Hachi. So why they send it in the first place, guys? If you can't judge it, why they send to Mar Ukva and Bavel? Send them to us. You can't judge it anyway. So what's the reason? They lachla kavid le Mar Ukva, to give kavid to what? To Mar Ukva. Hadron lecha ze boirer, hadron lecha ze boirer, hadron lecha ze boirer.